The year is 2027. The world awakens to a new day, its cities bathed in the soft glow of dawn, seemingly at peace. Just a few years ago, the world seemed to be exhaling after decades of relentless conflict and uncertainty. People returned to their daily routines, laughter echoed in parks, and the scars of war began to fade from memory. Truce agreements were signed, diplomats smiled for the cameras, and hope for lasting peace grew stronger with every handshake and every promise made. The global economy was recovering, and international summits shifted their focus to progress, innovation, and cooperation, rather than the specter of war. Headlines celebrated breakthroughs in medicine and space exploration, while old rivalries were dismissed as relics of a more turbulent era. We believe that economic ties and shared prosperity made war not just unlikely, but impossible. But beneath the surface optimism, a different story was quietly unfolding, hidden from the public eye. While we celebrated, preparations for a much larger conflict were quietly underway. Armies trained in silence and fleets moved under the cover of darkness. Intelligence warnings were ignored, dismissed as alarmist or irrelevant, their urgency lost in the noise of daily life. The public, exhausted by years of conflict and eager for normalcy, looked away, choosing comfort over vigilance. We saw what we wanted to see: a world healing, a future bright with possibility, but shadows gathered at the edges, where old empires and ambitions quietly dreamed of resurgence and power. The peace of the mid-2020s was not real peace. It was a fragile illusion, easily shattered. It was an intermission, a brief pause before the storm, a calm that hid the brewing chaos beneath. Treaties were tactical pauses, not true foundations for lasting stability. Every signature carried a hint of doubt. The real players regrouped, rearmed, and repositioned, waiting for the right moment to strike. We thought we were entering a new age, a time of hope and renewal. In truth, we stood on the edge of the darkest chapter in modern history, blind to the warning signs all around us. The ground beneath us was about to give way, threatening to swallow the peace we had so desperately clung to. And almost no one saw it coming, until it was far too late to turn back. As the West celebrated, basking in the glow of progress and unity, a different story was unfolding elsewhere. In the shadows, a new alliance was quietly taking shape, far from the public eye and the headlines. China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, each with their own ambitions and grievances, began to draw closer together, united by a shared desire to challenge and undermine the influence of the West. On the surface, their cooperation seemed purely economic, signing trade deals, launching massive infrastructure projects, and exchanging advanced technologies. But beneath these public gestures, their true aim was power, shifting the global balance in their favor. They began to coordinate their political strategies, voting as a unified bloc at the United Nations, and orchestrating sophisticated disinformation campaigns designed to destabilize Western democracies from within. Through propaganda, they painted NATO as the aggressor, while presenting their own rapid military buildups as purely defensive measures, justifying every move. Meanwhile, the West grew increasingly distracted and divided, with leaders questioning old alliances and struggling to find common ground. The leaders of this shadow axis were autocrats, unburdened by the constraints of elections, public opinion, or a free press, able to act decisively and in secrecy. They could plan for the long term, setting strategies that would unfold over years, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to strike. While Western leaders focused on short-term election cycles and domestic politics, the shadow axis looked far ahead, aiming to reshape the world order over the next decade. Their blueprint was bold, a new world order, one where they would set the rules and dominate the global stage. Most of the world saw only the surface, unaware of the deeper currents shifting beneath their feet. All the while, the real threat grew in silence, waiting for its moment to emerge. The alliance's core was military. Secret protocols outlined joint exercises, intelligence sharing, and coordinated war plans. Russian and Chinese generals met. Iranian cyber experts trained with North Korean hackers. Their goal, a multi-front war so vast the West couldn't respond. Russia would strike in Eastern Europe. China would invade Taiwan, while Iran and North Korea created chaos elsewhere. These plans were rehearsed in massive, unannounced drills. Cyber units mapped Western infrastructure, searching for weaknesses. China supplied Russia with microchips. Russia shared submarine and anti-satellite tech. Iran provided drones. North Korea was the unpredictable wild card. They pooled strengths, covered weaknesses, and built a force for global offense. The world had no idea how close the storm was. 2027 was chosen with precision. The U.S. faced political transition, Europe an energy crisis. The world's attention was fractured, perfect for a coordinated strike. Early in the year, cyberattacks hit financial markets and undersea cables, while Iranian-backed militias targeted oil tankers. Each incident tested the West's response. By late summer, Russian troop movements near Poland and Chinese naval buildups opposite Taiwan signaled something bigger. Western leaders hesitated, unsure if it was bluff or real. The shadow axis set the date and time. On the night of September 17th, the gears of global conflict began to turn. The world's fragile peace was about to shatter. The attack came without warning, shattering the uneasy calm that had settled over Europe. Before dawn on September 18th, Russian missiles struck military targets across Poland and the Baltics, lighting up the night sky with fire and destruction. Special forces moved swiftly under cover of darkness, sabotaging key infrastructure, railways, power stations, and communication lines, sowing chaos and confusion in their wake. The world awoke to the thunder of explosions over Warsaw, and scenes of terrified civilians fleeing westward, clutching whatever they could carry. Russian tanks poured across borders in massive columns, overwhelming outnumbered defenders who struggled to hold their ground. The Polish and Baltic armies fought bravely, mounting desperate resistance, but they faced a modernized Russian military equipped with advanced weaponry and superior numbers. NATO's Rapid Reaction Force was put on high alert, scrambling to respond. But bureaucratic delays and confusion cost precious time as the situation spiraled out of control. Civilians were caught off guard. Air raid sirens wailed through the night. Power grids failed and panic spread like wildfire as families sought shelter. Roads quickly clogged with refugees desperate to escape while the internet went dark, cutting off communication and deepening the sense of isolation. War on this scale was thought impossible in modern Europe. Yet now it was reality. Streets emptied, playgrounds abandoned, and disbelief etched on every face. Every hour of delay meant more territory lost, as Russian forces pressed their advantage and the map of Europe began to change before the world's eyes. The Russians advanced relentlessly, capturing towns and planting their flags, determined to seize as much ground as possible before NATO could mount a coordinated response. The Eastern Front of World War III was no longer a distant threat. It was happening now. The world watched, stunned and powerless, as the nightmare of war returned to Europe. As Russian missiles hit Poland, Taiwan went dark. A massive cyber attack crippled the island's power, communications, and finance. Under this blackout, China launched its long-feared invasion. Missiles hammered military sites. A vast armada approached the shores. Taiwan, prepared for decades, fought back fiercely. Hidden missile batteries struck Chinese ships. Defenders turned beaches into killing zones. The initial landings were far costlier than Beijing expected. Civilians and soldiers alike resisted, turning the invasion into a brutal, grinding fight. The U.S. Navy pulled back, wary of China's anti-ship missiles. America faced an impossible choice: war in Europe or war in Asia. The two-front crisis threatened to overwhelm the West. China's strategy was working. The world watched, powerless. The timing was no accident. Russia's invasion of Eastern Europe and China's assault on Taiwan began within the same hour. It was a meticulously coordinated global war plan. Western militaries scrambled, their attention split between two massive crises. The Shadow Axis's strategy was clear: paralyze the U.S. by forcing it to fight on two fronts. Iran blockaded the Strait of Hormuz, sending energy prices soaring. North Korea shelled islands near South Korea, tying down U.S. forces. These were calculated distractions, stretching Western resources to the breaking point. Emergency meetings were held, but diplomacy was useless. The aggressors had made their move. The scale of coordination was breathtaking and terrifying. In hours, the illusion of peace was shattered. The world faced a single unified act of war. September 18th, 2027. Etched into history as the day peace died. The hope for a world beyond great power conflict vanished in fire and chaos. The President of the United States addressed a terrified world. This was not a regional crisis, but a global war. NATO invoked Article 5. Alliances forged after World War II were tested by fire. The world was irrevocably changed. On one side, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, determined to remake the world. On the other, the West, fighting for survival and the future of democracy. This was not just a battle for territory, but for the soul of humanity. There was no going back. Casualties mounted, soldiers and civilians alike. The economic and social devastation would last generations. World War III had begun, not with a single shot, but a synchronized global assault. Peace became a memory. The long, dark struggle had only just begun.